it's May and welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be another book writing episode. I'm going to be doing quite a few of them this semester because if you guys don't know, I'm doing directed studies, so I'm working with a professor on revising 2 of my manuscripts this semester. Let's get straight into it. So this is going to be a little bit of repeated information if you guys saw my week 1 vlog, but we had our first meeting Thursday of week 1 and it went so well, you guys. We already met up a few times last semester to just kind of talk about plans and stuff, and he gave me some like preliminary feedback as he started reading my book. This is like our first official meeting. I still haven't like officially out of the class. I need to turn in paperwork this week, but yeah. So yeah, I was just so nervous last Thursday, like all day. I was just like super anxious. And I was just like going from one thing to another, like class to class to class, running errands, and I like had back-to-back classes, and then I just had to go straight to this meeting, and I was like, okay, we can do this. But in a way, I like kind of didn't have time to be nervous during the day because I was just so busy, so maybe that was a good thing. Like I said, like this book is just super close to my heart, and I've had so much fun writing it, so I just like, I don't know, I was just like really nervous. But it went so well. So first of all, he said that he really liked it. And he said that he like stayed up later than he intended to reading it, and he would just be like, oh, like just one more chapter. And so that was just like the best compliment ever. And he said that he was like rooting for my main characters and he loved the romance. And I was like, yes! Because that is something that I really like about it. Like I love the dialogue that I wrote and like the banter I have going between the characters and stuff. So yeah. And what he said about the love interest is like exactly the way that I want readers to feel about them, so I just loved that. And then he had like all his critiques for me, and I don't know, like usually after getting critiques in like a creative writing class, it's just like really hard to deal with, and that's especially because you're like sitting in a circle and everyone goes around taking turns giving you critiques, so it's just like really like a lot of pressure and stuff. And so maybe it was different because this was like one-on-one, but I really didn't feel like bad or like down about myself or my writing because like, I don't know, like the way he gave criticism was just like so, like it just didn't feel like negativity. I don't know how to describe it, but he'd like say like, you did this here, but like in these other places you don't do it. So like look at what you did here and see if you can apply it to these other places. And like everything he said was just like really spot on. Like there was a character's name that was too close to another character's name, and I was like, oh, I was wondering if that was gonna be a problem. And so I changed that, like things like that. Yeah, just things that like it kind of crossed my mind, and it was good to know like, okay, this is something I really need to change. And then there were other things that I really couldn't see being so close to the story, like being the one writing it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that makes so much sense. Like there was this one insight that he made that blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, like, of course, like that's so obvious that I should change that. Like you're so right. And I just have been thinking about it ever since then. Like, how did I miss that when I was writing it? That is so obviously like a weird like thing that happened. Like, I don't know, but I'm working on fixing that. And then there are like 2 major plot changes that we talked about, and it's gonna be a lot, you guys. So one of them I actually came up with and talked to him about it, and he agreed that I should change it, but actually he had different reasoning than I did, and I hadn't even thought about his reasoning, but I think it's just all the more reason to change it. So we're gonna work on that, because I told him, I was like, yes, I've been thinking about this for a while, but it messes so many things up, and I like talked about that, and he's like, okay, I understand that, but we'll figure it out. And then the other change that he came up with, it's like, it's so devastating because like a lot of like the characters' banter and stuff, like, and fun stuff, I don't know, like takes place within those scenes. Like it's a lot of like excitement and tension. And he acknowledged that, but he said that like for the sake of the way people view a certain character and like the impact of the ending, this should really be changed. And I totally see it so clearly now, because I don't want people to see this character as like one-dimensional. So it's like, it's gonna have to be changed, but I need him to tell me what to put in there instead, because there's so many scenes that have to do with this, and if I take it out, it changes so much, you guys. Ugh. But like, I definitely agree. And he also said that like I don't have to like actually execute any of like what he tells me. Like I can just pick and choose like what feels right for me, which is really nice to hear. But honestly, like almost everything he said was very valid. We have like what needs to be fixed, now you need to figure out how we're gonna fix it. And we kind of addressed that for a few things last time, so now we're just gonna have to work on doing the rest of it. I really don't know how a 2-hour meeting every week is gonna cut it. Like, I feel like we need to meet twice a week. I don't know. Our meeting, I don't think even was supposed to go 2 hours. I think it was supposed to go shorter. But yeah. Like, there's just so much to talk about and so much what needs to be discussed. So yeah, I've already started working on it. It's like really cool that I can think of this as my homework now. I mean, I'm not thinking of it as my homework, it is my homework. Like this morning I was like, okay, I'm gonna like work on rewriting this. And I was like, I'm doing homework right now, you know? Like, this is homework. So I started rewriting a potential scene that will be one of like the big changes, or part of it. It would still be a lot more changes, but I just started it. And then I started rewriting this other scene that has been really bothering me because it's just, the characters' attitudes in the scene are not consistent, and I talked to him about that, and he was like, yeah, I can kind of see that. And it also kind of relates to that second thing he was talking about, so I need to start it there. I know this is making no sense, but this is just me talking this out. And so I started trying to rewrite it, because last night as I was trying to sleep, I was thinking about it, and I was like playing the scene in my head, and I'd have the characters say certain things and be like, no, 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 that's not right, and I'd like change it. And then I'd like see it written out, and I was like, should I just get up and write? And then I was like, no, I need to go to sleep. And I eventually did, but this morning I was like trying to write it and I got stuck because I changed it to try to make one of the characters' attitudes like more consistent, and then I'm like, but then you end up at this freaking roadblock and I don't know where to go. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Good stuff. When I meet with him this Thursday and we talk about my other book, I'm gonna like add another segment after this to talk about that. But yeah, guys, it's just like, it's so cool that like someone else has read this book and they know the whole story and they know the characters and they're like invested in it too. It's like crazy that the story isn't just something that like exists just to me anymore. I don't know. Hey guys, so it is a few weeks later now. I'm finally getting around to filming this. We've had, I think, 2 more meetings since the last time I talked. I'm gonna be making like so many book writing episodes this semester. I'm probably gonna do at least 3 more. I'm planning on doing one just like every 2 weeks just because so much is gonna be happening and I'm gonna be making so much progress, and like I think these videos are fun and I like looking back on them, and like hopefully someday when I can publish these books I can look back and kind of see the journey. So anyway, so we have gone over more of spring break book stuff, and he also finished my first book, and that was our last meeting that we spent talking about that. That one is actually finished. Spring break book wasn't done. Some of it was like bracketed in, but first book's actually a complete draft. We're gonna be spending most of the semester on spring break book and less time on first book because spring break book does have a lot more to be written in, as well as editing, and then first book just will have editing. He gave me a lot of good feedback on that. Again, it was just like some things that I had thought of and I was like, oh, I wonder if this is an issue, and then it was an issue. Some things that I thought were gonna be an issue he didn't even bring up, and so like I had a list of questions and he had his feedback, and then some of it coincided, and then like I asked some extra questions and we kind of went over that. I always think of more as I leave. I'm like, oh wait, there was that other thing that I wanted to like talk about. So maybe next time I can like ask him that or whatever. But yeah, like for the most part it went really well. Yeah, I was like worried that this book would come off as like boring, especially because he said he enjoyed reading spring break books so much and it was like a page turner and stuff. I asked him how he felt about first book and he said that he did get hooked in the same way, it just took longer. And that's always the problem I've had with this book, is the beginning. I have rewritten the beginning so many times, and you guys have to understand like how much this book has been edited. Like, I have been working on it for 4 years. 4 freaking years. I have reworked so much stuff, edited so much stuff. I worked on it a ton over this winter break. Like, I edited the whole thing and added in and took out so much stuff, and I had done that to the first half 2 other times, and I've taken it to my novel class and gotten chapters workshopped and reworked those chapters. And so I told him before he read it, I'm like, anything you think is bad in this, I promise you it was worse before. Like, I've edited this book so much. And the beginning is always what's so hard for me. Like, I've rewritten the first paragraph like 50 times. I've reworked the first chapter a bunch, and I still just don't think that it's hooking enough, like it's not gripping. Like the conflict and tension is in this book is what we ended up talking about a lot. Like he was talking about at the end, the stakes need to be higher. And I hadn't thought about it that way before, but now I get it. Like I think that is something that was missing for the ending to have more impact. So we discussed a couple ways it could be done, and I'm like, oh my god, like I don't even know. Like this would change so much and it would be so hard. And he's like, no, like it really wouldn't be that hard to do. I'm like, I don't know. I'm freaking out. It would just change the story. But I think that I know this book needs like some sort of change at the beginning and the end. So that's gonna be the main thing to work on, I think. And then there's a lot of like other little things. Like he's like, I want more of this, I want more of that. And I'm like, okay. And he's really good at giving like critiques because he points out like, you did this here. And that's when I realized I wanted more of it. So like more of what you did in this place. So I know like what to look for. It's just a matter of like coming up with the other stuff. And something that I really realized in the past couple months, and then when he was giving me feedback, is that really what I enjoy the most and what I think I'm the best at with writing is like characters and dialogue. Because what he said for both of my books are like he feels the main characters like so strongly and like their consciousness, and he really feels like he's getting into their head. But like certain other things like setting, he doesn't feel like he's there enough, and there's not enough like sensory detail. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I never like writing setting. Like it's so boring to write, and it's just, oh my god. I mean, and I know it's important. Like I love good sensory details. I want to read and know where I am. Like not like paragraphs and paragraphs of it, but I love when there's like details that really pull you in. And I just don't feel like I'm good at that unless I'm really writing something that is like directly from experience. Like if I'm like taking a place that I know, and usually it's not. Like I'm writing completely fictional places. So yeah, I just don't enjoy writing stuff. But he said like usually when he's editing his books, like sensory details are things that he'll like layer in while editing, and I think that's probably what I'm gonna end up doing too, because like once I have like the plot and the characters figured out, then I can go back and like add in, like I can find parts where I feel like it's lacking. And sometimes sensory details are like fun to put in, but I just hate describing like rooms. I hate it, especially because like I'll just try to describe it and like it just won't sound good. It'll sound boring and like ugh, I don't know. So that's just like my struggle right now. But I love coming up with like characters and their backstory and their personalities and writing dialogue. Of course, there are times when I have writer's block and it doesn't come easily to me, but it usually comes pretty easily to me. Like I can just see the characters in my head talking and it flows out onto the page. But then when I have to write like descriptions, not so much. I also feel like just like coming up with plot things is hard for me. Like Jillian and I have talked about this before, like I will come up with characters and their backstories and everything, but then it's like, what are they actually doing? Like when I'm first coming up with a novel, like the characters are always the first things that come to me. And so especially when I'm trying to structure something like my fantasy book, which Jillian and I worked on last week, and it was really productive, but I haven't touched it since because I don't have time to work on that when I'm supposed to be working on Spring Break book. It's just so hard when like a fantasy novel has to rely so much on plot. Like I'm not good at coming up with that. Like conflict and tension and plot stuff is like not my strength. It's always the characters, which is why I write like character-driven novels versus plot-driven. But I don't know, I will write that fantasy novel at some point. I really will. It's gonna be great. Okay, so basically how it's gonna like work for the rest of the semester is that we're gonna come up with like what I'm doing for the next week at our meeting, and I'll write that and give it to him like at the next meeting while we go over what I had done the previous week. So it'll be like kind of a week at a time, and we'll kind of like decide together like what I'm gonna tackle. He's so lenient about it. Like when we met, because we were supposed to meet last Thursday, but we met this Monday because he couldn't meet last Thursday, so we had to meet this Monday, and now we're also meeting this Thursday, so like the Monday was in the place of last Thursday. But anyway, I was like I'm so behind, like I don't know if I'm gonna get it done. And he's like, well, it's okay if you don't. I'm like, no, it's not okay. You can't say that because I'm not gonna get anything done this whole semester. I need like hard deadlines. Like don't say that to me. But I always have this habit of biting off more than I can chew. Like I set these like unreachable goals and then I get mad at myself when I don't reach them. But the thing is that I don't realize that it's unrealistic when I'm setting the goal. I'll be like, I'm gonna write this scene, this scene, and this scene, and this scene, and make these edits. That's totally doable. And then I actually sit down and write it and I'm like, oh my god, I have no idea what I'm doing for the scene. Because like some scenes, I know I can see it in my head and I just haven't gotten around to writing it yet. And even those can take a while. But some scenes I'm like, oh, I just know that something has to happen with these characters here. When I sit down to write that, that's like an hour of figuring out like what actually is gonna happen before I can even write it. So yeah, that's life right now. Tonight I'm going to be working on that because I'm supposed to like have it done by tomorrow, and clearly I'm not gonna get it all done, but I'm gonna get most of it done. There was something else I was gonna say. Oh, so it was just funny when we were talking yesterday, or Monday, not yesterday. These two books, like First Book and Spring Break Book, are not related in the slightest. Like, I did not write them at the same time in my life. Like, there is no like source of inspiration that overlapped for them. They are so different. And it was when I was editing First Book over winter break that I was like, I wrote this like phrase in Spring Break Book, and this scene like parallels a scene from that. And I had realized this a while ago, but there's like a thread of plot that goes through them that is the same. Like if you were to take out a bunch of stuff and just look at this one thread, it's the same. And like it doesn't end the same, but it like starts the same. And when I told him that, he's like, yeah, that's a trope. That happens in all sorts of books. Like, it's not a big deal. I'm like, okay. And he's like, it's okay. Like, you want your books to feel similar to readers. Like, your main characters are very different. And, like, you can see that. But you can also tell it's, like, written by the same person. And that's a good thing. And I'm like, yeah, I guess it is. Like, I do want my books to have a certain feel to them. But I don't know. There were also... Speaking of parallels, not that these were similar things at all, but there was like one little thing in each book that was like a logistical issue, and I was like, I don't think it's that big of a deal, like maybe no one will notice, and he noticed both of them. I was like, dang it. Like when he was giving me notes, he was like, this isn't like a super big deal, but I just thought about this and like how this wasn't quite like realistic that this would happen, and I was like, yeah, I thought about that too, but I didn't think it was a big deal. And for one of them, I think I found a solution, and one that I think I'm actually gonna like, it's gonna make it better. But in the other one, it's like, what do you do? Like how do you fix this? Because like, I don't know. And then what I also realized, and we kind of talked about this too, is that in like both books, again, not that it's similar, it's just something that is like an issue in both books, that I like set up more or less for some big thing to happen, and then it doesn't happen and something else happens instead. It's not like a plot twist, but it's like I don't want to like set up readers to like expect a certain thing and then not have it happen. And in First Book, there used to be a sequel, so like I left a lot of things unresolved that were gonna get resolved in the sequel, but then when I didn't write that anymore, I had to restructure stuff, which I think I did a pretty good job of in my last edit, to like make it so it made sense that this thing didn't happen that was going to happen in the sequel, but I still feel like I set it up too much. And we talked about that with like the restructuring, like the conflict and like stakes at the end. So I don't know if it's actually gonna happen or if we're gonna like move stuff around, because it also could be a strong point that's left unresolved. I don't know. And then in Spring Break Book, he said it was fine. I think it's gonna be more of an issue in First Book. And in Spring Break Book, if we make the changes that I think I talked about in the last one, where he was like, if you want this character to be viewed in this way, you're gonna have to change this because it like makes them look really bad that you do this. And like I hadn't thought about it before. He pointed it out to me, but like it makes so much sense now. And I'm like, as much as I don't want to like restructure stuff, and like, oh, you guys, like they're like, I really like some of the scenes I wrote and I'd have to change them. But anyway, like then it will set up for that thing that readers might be expecting a lot less if I change that, so it'll get resolved there too. As per tradition, I will share a song from my playlist. I think, yeah, I didn't do this last time because I didn't feel like we're gonna get back on that. Lots of songs to share with you guys this semester. another song for Spring Break Book, of course, because that's the playlist that's like, I think it's at something like 62 or 63 songs now. I just keep adding more and more songs. It's so fun to listen to, and after I got out of my meeting with him, I just like put on this playlist and was like jamming out my whole walk to yoga. I did that song because the chapter that I'm working on, that's the scene that I was trying to fix, is called The Name of the Game, or called What's the Name of the Game? Little Mamma Mia 2 for you there. So yeah, that is going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time. Please like and subscribe. Bye.